and welcome. I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today to talk about books. And this is our final video for books for September. And there are a few books to talk about, so let's get started. A big part of my reading for this last week of September was graphic novels. But I also read a YA dark academia and an adult contemporary. So let's start with those two. The YA dark academia was The Wilde Trials by Mackenzie Reed. And this was the book I had mentioned at the end of the previous video, so we're going to get to it now. And it is set at the Wilde Academy, which is an elite boarding school. At the end of the school year, every year, the school hosts a contest, the Wilde Trials. And all the senior students are able to apply to be a part of the Wilde Trials, but only 12 are chosen. And a good thing about being chosen is that you're exempted from your final exams. The winner also gets a sizable money prize. However, there's some darkness in the school's past and in the past Wilde Trials. And one of this year's seniors is the brother of someone who was harmed during the Wilde Trials in the past. Chloe's sister is ill, and with her parents' investment in Chloe's education, they are running short of money. So Chloe realizes that if she were to be chosen for and win the Wilde Trials, it would help her family exponentially. She and her ex-boyfriend Hayes broke up because she wanted to be part of the contest. So when Chloe is chosen as a participant, she is shocked to discover that Hayes is also a participant. Chloe receives an anonymous note attempting to blackmail her. And in some of the competitions, she is a target of sabotage and her equipment is tampered with. This causes her to wonder if someone is out to get her and who that someone is. The Wilde Trials is packed with riddles, deceit, and twists that will keep you reading until the end. If you've read and liked the book I talked about last time, When We Were Monsters by Jennifer Niven, you're going to want to give this one a try. If you haven't read When We Were Monsters, but you've read this and you like it, definitely read When We Were Monsters. More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Sathoshi Yagisawa, translated by Eric Ozawa. And this is the second book of the Days at the Morisaki Bookshop series. The Morisaki Bookshop is located in the used bookstore district of Tokyo. It's on a quiet corner in an old wooden building, and it's filled with hundreds of books. Sounds like a dream come true. Takako no longer lives above the building, and she has a different job, but she returns to help her uncle Satoru whenever she can. But there are changes in store for Satoru, and this time around, he may need Takako as much as she needed him in the first book. More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop takes Takako and Satoru on an emotional journey into their family's past and helps them rediscover what the bookstore means to individuals, a neighborhood, and the entire culture. I'll mention here that I read Gallant by V.E. Schwab, but since I have talked about this book in the past, I won't discuss it today other than to acknowledge that I really enjoyed this read as well. If you're interested, I will link the video where I talk about it below. And I don't have much to add to what I said in that video, but I will say that this is a perfect autumn read. My other books are all graphic novels. So I have The Investigators All Tied Up by John Patrick Green, Doctor Who Revolutions of Terror by Nick Abadzis, Ashes Cabin by Jen Wang, Autumn by Mark Crilley, Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell, and The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, adapted by Stephanie Williams. And some of these are perfect autumn reads, so I'm going to save the last few to talk about last. And we'll start with All Tied Up and Doctor Who, Revolutions of Terror. All Tied Up is a middle reader aged graphic novel. It's the 7th book in the series, but it's the only book I've read. You don't need to read the whole series to enjoy the books. The main characters are Mango and Brash, and they are 2 investigators who are alligators. There's a lot of wordplay, puns, and jokes in this book. And this one takes place mostly at sea, and based on this book, I'd say this is a really fun series. Doctor Who, Revolutions of Terror. It's a graphic novel of an adventure of the 10th Doctor, and it takes place in the time after Donna was his companion. He's not in any rush to find a new companion, but he meets Gabriella, who is a waitress who wants to be an artist. The first part of the book is the story. The second part of the book is information about the characters and the setting. And it looks like there are about 10 books in this series, and it was actually quite enjoyable. The next books I'm going to mention are great autumn reads. Ash's Cabin by Jen Wang. Ash is grieving and wants to feel connected to the grandfather who died. He had talked about a cabin that he built in the woods, and so Ash sets out to find the cabin, restore it, and live off the land. It touches on themes of environmentalism and isolation. Ash's Cabin is beautifully written, and there's also some handy survival information in here as well. I'm going to briefly touch on autumn. So it is the Miki Falls series. This is volume 3. Autumn. When I first requested the book, I did not realize that it was part of a series. I was looking for a book, so I went in the online catalog and I just searched for Autumn, and this was one of the results I got. I did read it, but I also ordered the other 3 books in this series. So if it's okay with you, I am going to hold off on talking about this one until next month because I've ordered the other 3. I'm going to read them all in order, and we will talk about them then. Pumpkinheads is set in the best pumpkin patch in the world. There are booths with different autumn activities and different foods. It's the final day of the season that the patch will be open, and it is the last time that Josiah and Deja will be working there. They are both in their last year of high school, and while Josiah feels sad about the end of their time there, Deja is determined to make it the best night. Pumpkinheads has all the experiences that you would want in an autumn pumpkin patch. And our final book for the day, The Raven Boys, the graphic novel. And I have read the series, The Raven Boys. We've got it right here. And I loved the series. So I was very excited to see that they're making it into a graphic novel. And I really like this graphic novel. It takes place in October and November, so it is perfect for this time of year. There were some aspects of the graphic novel which I thought were more obvious than they were in the first reading of the regular book. And it didn't hurt the story, it just stood out to me, and maybe because I knew those plot points, but maybe it just is written in a more obvious way. It did not hurt the story at all. And I really do recommend the graphic novel if you've read the series and you want a light version of it. It's the perfect opportunity. And there we are. I hope that you enjoyed following along on my September reads, and I hope that your September reading was as good or better than mine. We'll be moving back to a more typical format in October, and I will be focusing on autumn reads. So spooky reads, mysteries, things set in the autumn, fantasies with paranormal or horror aspects or horror themselves. So I hope to see you then, and until then, I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.